What is up, Raider Nation? It is officially week number 2 of the 2024 NFL season. Starting tonight with the Bills and the Dolphins. The Raiders go ahead and take on Baltimore in Baltimore on Sunday. So I want to go ahead and go take a look at the NFL's YouTube channel, and they do game previews every week. And I just want to look at the Ravens and the Raider game. So let's go ahead and do that.
Las Vegas Raiders looking to get in the win column after a disappointing start to the year. In Baltimore, the Ravens, well, they kind of know what that French pole vaulter felt like.
Oh, very close.
So close.
They were ready to go for 2, but now they have to soak in Walter Socek's advice and forget about the toe. Have to focus on the task at hand, the Raiders, whose defense is dealing with a Lamar Jackson who looks just as MVP-ish as he did last year.
Jackson throws on the road to feet, and he brought it in. Final half minute.
200.
The defensive front for this game is going to be real huge, as it is going to be every week for the Raiders. Containing Lamar, especially this week, though, is going to be pretty difficult. As we know, Lamar is a great thrower and a great runner. So it's going to be interesting to see how Patrick Graham schemes his defense to go ahead and contain Lamar.
70-plus passing yards, a touchdown, no picks, plus maybe more relevant to this game, over 100 rushing yards.
Jackson goes quick, nothing open, he takes off as well as anyone.
It's not that the debut of Slash and Gash hit the way Psycho did right out of the gate. Derrick Henry only managed 3.5 a run, just 46 yards. He did at least score.
Right to the goal line and in on his first drive.
Derrick Henry he might be a problem for the Raiders, especially giving up 135 yards to J.K. Dobbins last week. Derrick Henry is a different animal than J.K. Dobbins, to say the least. I think the front is going to be huge this week for the Raiders defense.
King Henry.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother. Reason the sequel has a chance to top the first iteration, J.K. Dobbins. Vegas gave up 2 monster runs to the Harry Potter author, 130 yards, a touchdown, just 10 carries.
He has to try and make a lunging one-arm tackle, and that ain't happening against Dobbins.
Raiders DBs could give Lamar trouble in the passing game. They held Justin Herbert to 144 yards, just 5.5 yards per attempt. Cornerbacks Jack Jones, Jacorian Bennett, Nate Hobbs, 14 yards allowed combined.
You can see the aggressiveness of the Raiders saying, we're coming after you.
The back end of the defense, I think, did really well against Justin Herbert, but that's not John Harbaugh's game, he's not going to want to air out the ball, even having Justin Herbert. And I know the Ravens have tried to pivot this year, the new offensive coordinator, to getting their already potent run game, which they've had for the past couple of years, up to par with what has been a subpar passing offense. And Lamar is good enough to do it, but watching some of that season opener game against the Chiefs, he did miss some throws, especially down in the red zone. So if we can get some pressure on him, if the DBs can cover the receivers real well, I think there's some potential for at least some turnovers to maybe put us in this game.
This week, Raiders secondary dealing with the likes of Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar. Neither did much in week 1. Jackson's top target out of the gate, Mr. Toe himself, tight end Isaiah Likely, 100-plus yards and a TD despite that last pass attempt.
Isaiah Likely with a block down the sideline.
Tight end Mark Andrews, quiet week 1, so Likely was picked up in fantasy by the droves. Raiders versus tight end Hayden Hurst, 33 yards allowed. Zay Flowers is still the receiver Vegas cornerbacks should focus on the most. He was thrown to 10 times versus KC, second most to Likely.
Flowers is their number 1 target for sure.
Kansas City.
Flowers only 2 catches, 53 yards. He's the slot guy, so give us some Flowers and Hobbs. Now I get why they went with Crockett. Vegas pass rush, week 1, a Mad Max show again.
He uses power, speed, he has it all, Jim.
Crosby with a sack. Christian Wilkins didn't make it home, but Baltimore had a heck of a time with one Chris Jones last week.
Okay, well, you want a little welcome to the NFL. Here comes Chris Jones.
Pass protection was an issue for Vegas when they had the ball. That's an area they'll try and clean up. 4 sacks taken. Left tackle Colton Miller allowed 1.5, as did right guard Dylan Parham.
Bosa and Mack with back-to-back sacks.
What kind of Ravens pass rush are they facing?
Yeah, the Raiders' offensive line was not good last week, and I think the Ravens have a better defense in general rather than the Chargers. Maybe the Chargers have two better pass rushers in Mack and Bosa, but Justin Madubuike is nothing to be played with. He's a real deal. And the middle of the offensive line was not good, and he plays defensive tackle, so our offensive line needs to really step up this week.
Racing, Ravens picked up a couple sacks versus the Chiefs. Parham will see plenty of the DT formerly known as Justin. Nnamdi Madubuike had a half sack in week 1. Defensive end David Ojabu also cracked the code once.
Pressure's on Mahomes, and he is stopped. David Ojabu.
None for Baltimore defensive end Odafe Owe out of the gate, and Ravens have to hope one of their sack masters is okay. Defensive end Kyle Van Noy left last week with a hurt eye. Minshew comes in with some confidence. It wasn't all bad in week 1. 250-plus yards, a TD, a pick, mid-90s rate.
That is outstanding quarterback play by Gardner.
He likes Brock Bowers, most targets in week 1, 58 yards in his NFL debut.
And watch this great cut. This kid's going to be an all-pro someday.
Ravens have Kyle Hamilton waiting for Bowers. He was a big reason Baltimore held Travis Kelce to under 40 yards.
Of course, all the focal point out here, wherever Kelce goes.
Ravens' pass defense, sort of a mixed bag in its debut, came up with a pick of Patrick Mahomes in week 1.
And that is a rare mistake right there for Patrick Mahomes.
Also gave up 290-plus yards, a rating over 100. The matchups when Minshew lets it fly, Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphrey versus Devontae Adams. Humphrey gave up a long touchdown last week to rookie Xavier Worthy when he thought he had help. He got tagged with a TD allowed and a fat rate because of it.
Did you see that little look out of the corner of his eye? He said, really?
Ravens secondary also allowed Rashee Rice to go for 100-plus yards in week 1.
So what this is telling me is there's potential to put up some big yards at least against this Ravens defense if we can get Gardner Minshew to pick apart this secondary. But that has to come with better play calling as well. We can't just stick to the ground and pound. We have to figure out if it's working. We have to figure out if it's beneficial for us to even play that way. It's per game basis, but we'll see. This is telling me that there's potential for a quarterback to really put up some yards against this kind of defense.
Rice, 19 more yards.
Baltimore's defense gave up 25-plus yards to Justin Watson, Noah Gray, and Isaiah Pacheco, too. Adams, a.k.a. the golf cart riding Taco Bell King, 6 targets, 5 catches, 59 yards in his first rodeo with the Gardner.
Well done. Passes there for Devontae.
Jacoby Myers also has to be accounted for, led Vegas with 61 yards last week.
On the run, he's got his man. He's got Myers.
The X-Factor matchup, Baltimore's Roquan Smith, Vegas' running back Zamir White. Smith had a pick and played a big role in limiting KC's Pacheco to 45 yards, just 3 per run.
From the minute he showed up in Baltimore, the unquestioned leader of this football team.
White, 3.4 yards per carry, 44 yards in his first real go as RB1. The Ravens, 9-4 versus the Raiders overall.
They were talking about Zamir and Roquan. I do believe in Zamir, and I think he just had a really bad game against the Chargers. But Roquan Smith is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. We have to get our offensive line to block up to the backers, get some tough yards if we want to be able to run the ball against this Baltimore defense. I think this is going to be a good game. Let's go ahead and finish out this video.
Sherman getting the Wayback Machine. First game in Ravens history was against the Raiders. Ernest Weiner with the game winner in the 4th.
This right here, that sucks to see. But Baltimore has been a pretty dominant team. Besides the Kansas City Chiefs, they've been probably one of the best in the AFC. So this is not surprising. But come on, show some love to the Raiders. I mean, they had a bad week last week. I get it, but I don't know. My prediction for this game is, unfortunately, I do think that the Ravens will come out with a win. I want to see the Raiders progress. That's all I want to see. In the beginning of this year, the beginning of this season, the Raiders have a tough schedule. And as long as they can learn from the tough schedule that is put ahead of them, I think that the rest of the year will look better for sure. I think the Raiders just need to grow. They need to find their identity offensively for sure, because I know they definitely found identity on defense last year. So I think as we learn to progress through these games, especially the tough ones against Baltimore and a division rival in the Chargers last week, we have to just continue to develop. I do think the Ravens win this game, which does put the Raiders down at 0-2. But I'm excited for this game. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do the Raiders win this game? What do you want to see from the Raiders to progress? And thank you for watching. And just win, baby.